Patrick Hillier.
Matt asked me to talk about architecture because this is Architecture Week, and I was going to talk about architecture times two. So I was going to talk about my firm, Love & Porter, and our 50-year history here in Dayton. And somebody who's been to one of these before, because I haven't, said, that's really boring. You should really put something interesting into it. So I'm going to talk about the design of buildings and compare one of my more entertaining topics with that of Love & Porter. So you'll kind of see the two together. So back in the 60s, James Bond was created by Ian Fleming. I'm a huge James Bond fan. It's probably one of my favorite things to do, read books and watch the movies. The 60s was an inspiration to him. Some of my favorite buildings, Dulles Airport, I built that as a model in college, the Corncob building. So Ian Fleming was working in Jamaica at Goldeneye, his home, which became the name of the movie, and Richard Levin was smoking also in an office just down the street here. Back when you were still allowed to smoke in your office and bring your dog to work. Both of these things happened in the 60s.
Shaken.
Was one of the great imagery out of the Dr. No movie. Ken Adams was a great production designer who did all the early James Bond movies, and I think the sets were just really visually amazing. Stratford House here downtown was still open of that same era. From Usher with Love kind of brought in this communist look with Elsa Kled, who's definitely not as sexy as Ursula Andress. And the Globe Industries building built about the same time, had a whole sort of Russian regimented, organizational methods. And I love the 60s, something out of the rocket ship movies. Goldfinger, that set seemed to be more inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright. One of my old offices, we built an earth shelter building long before green was even inspired. And when I went into it, when we got a tour, it was done, it looked like Goldfinger's lab. Thunderball was one of the where the white dinner jacket was first introduced in James Bond in the upper right there, which has of course inspired my outfit for tonight. And Colonel White High School built about the same time as where our MC went to English class before it got torn down. You Only Live Twice was a rocket-themed James Bond movie that has some really interesting set design for over in Japan, contrasting with our Tropical Branch Library, which is still in use. One of my favorite buildings in a James Bond movie is Piazza Gloria restaurant in Switzerland. And it's kind of in a more angular shape. Reminds me a lot of the Senior Center, which is just over down the street by Sinclair. So for those of you guys who don't know, that's still there, still being used. I just drove by a Senior Center vehicle on the way down here. The 70s caught on to the glam of Las Vegas. James Bond made it to America. Forget the name of it also. The Elrod House was used in that scene. Bambi and Thumper beat up on James Bond in his house. Whereas in the 70s, the more shiny and chrome era, the sets of Live and Let Die with Mr. Big were all shiny and chrome, just like the Federal Homestead Savings Bank downtown, about 11 corner on the corner. And that billiard ball that was on the roof was really part of the original construction. It's not there now. Band Golden Gun, I think the coolest design element there, of course, was the golden gun that was made up of pieces and parts. Again, sort of this hexagonal shape of that laser beam was often reflected in the Miami Civic Center, which was under 11 border. And then we get into the really wild and crazy stuff that inspired Love Me with the underground car, and of course the skyscraper that fell down out by the airport. This is now unfortunately going to get torn down because it's not being used. Now I'm having some 200 slides. Moonraker was again a reflection of the 70s when Star Wars was big and involved a space shuttle, and again more fantastic design. This was the last set design by Ken Adams. And McMaggie McKnight, Parkinson Xenia kind of looked like a missile silo to me, waiting for a rocket to get launched up. Drive by this every day. This is kind of like a wall again. against 48, shielding you from the noise, reminds me of the tower they have to climb for your eyes only to attack the monastery on top of the building, shielding the monks who lived up there from the noise. Octopussy, strangely named movie that carried on at more modern times. That era brought the original Copeland, which got torn down here to build a later edition. So Lemon Porter's been doing architecture here at the Art Institute for a long time. Never Say Never Never Again is not a canon James Bond movie, so we'll just not talk about that. View to a Kill was on a lot of great architecture, climbing on the Eiffel Tower and climbing on the Golden Gate Bridge. Cincinnati Microwave, inventor of the radar detector, has still a building there. The Living Daylights gets us into the 80s. I love that kind of Don Johnson look that the bad guy henchman has. They attacked on Gibraltar. In that same era, Society Bank, which is still open in Salina. The 80s, License to Kill. We start to get into some of the less memorable buildings. Someone mentioned the remodeling of our convention centers being less than memorable. Thank you. We did it in 87. It was more recently remodeled. I guess I shouldn't comment on another architect. The 90s brought real high-tech, modern James Bond, Pierce Brosnan, thank you. And the Russ Engineering Building was a high-tech building we did, and then this kind of modern entrance to the Art Institute that was a combination of classic design and modern design. Halle Berry brought back the Sexy Curve image. The Aston Martin came back, and another cool building, a science center out in Chile, and some modern Levin Porting buildings. I did an auditorium up there, and of course, our own offices kind of reflect that 60s design style. So, thank you.